It's a fine day here in Shanghai for the 8th Chinese Grand Prix. It was an all Red Bull front row here last year, but of course it was a 1-2 for McLaren at the end of the Grand Prix. Of the 7 previous races here, we've had 7 different winners, 6 of whom are still on the grid this afternoon. There are 7 billion people in the world, but just 24 Grand Prix drivers. They're lined up in the same 200 meters of tarmac for our entertainment, and like bulls, when they see red, they get ready to charge. The red lights seem to be on for an eternity. Vettel feels he needs the cover button straight away, and that's why he's not had a great start. He's moving around like crazy. Button leads the Grand Prix. Hamilton's up the inside. Rosberg's up the inside of Vettel too. Vettel will get a better line as they go into turn 3. If he can hang it out there, he's really got to keep position. He does so. Massa right behind. He's outstarted Alonso again. Then it's 2 Force Indias. So Sebastian Vettel, he looked tense on the grid, and that's the worst start we've seen him make for quite some time, as he's still defending against Nico Rosberg down into turn 6. Button leads from Hamilton. Rosberg gets a shove off the track, and now Massa is alongside him, and Alonso fancies a bit of that as well, looking around the Mercedes of Nico Rosberg. So it's De Resta up into 7th, from Sutil Al-Duswari is 9th, Michael Schumacher straight up to 10th place. Mark Webber's only made 1 place at the moment in 17.
Well, the initial getaway actually was a little bit tardy there from Vettel, and you see he was sighting where Lewis Hamilton was. He'd already given up the fight on Jenson Button, and then that's just about as aggressive as you're going to be allowed to do into that first corner, and he gets pushed wide, and then he'll sense that Rosberg was there. Even if he wasn't seeing him in his mirrors, tiny little mirror hanging off the side of these cars, you'd hear the difference, and you'd know that another car was in close proximity. But good driving, great driving from all of these guys.
That is what it looks like when you get in to the hole behind a car that another Formula 1 car is punching in the air, and Webber makes the corner. So that was against Perez for 16th place. Lewis is beginning to catch Jenson, and there it's all going off at the back, and that is Kobayashi against Al-Jaswari. Petrov's right behind them, then Buemi, then Nick Heidfeld, then Rubens Barrichello, Mark Webber. Jenson Button leads by 1.2 seconds. Hamilton just cannot get in the zone to be able to activate his DRS. That right rear didn't look quite right, unless it was just the painted stripe was not very accurate on that. Look, I said the right rear didn't look good, didn't I, on the way out? So this is the offending wheel making a bid for freedom, and where does that bounce? Oh, look at that. Nico Rosberg pitted from 4th place. How will Ferrari react to that? Will they think he was holding them up, or will they have to come in and also take a stop? There's Vettel then, and Hamilton's struggling for rear grip as well now. So Vettel, then we saw how good his car was in qualifying. Red Bull still have got the raw pace in that car, they just don't have track position at the moment. And who will McLaren bring in first? Do you think that's what they're arguing about down there, why they didn't come in? And look at this then, Hamilton seriously under pressure, and that's given Jenson Button a little bit of breathing space.
I'm speechless there, Martin, because this is the big decision here. Which one of those McLaren drivers? The team are still in the pit lane, waiting patiently. We've got to presume one of these drivers is coming in, and Lewis is going to be passed here. He's defenceless with the DRS open, and this is just going to be a drag strip down to turn 14, approaching 200 miles an hour. Who's last of the late breakers?
Well, so Sebastian Vettel had the racing line, had track position. We believe it's Jenson Button that's coming in first. We expect him to dive up the pit lane, and so does Vettel. So Hamilton will lead the Grand Prix, but these two are going to come in and get themselves a fresh set of tyres for the undercut. Crucially though, if they don't have too much traffic when they drop back into the racetrack. And look at that, he's in the wrong pit.
He stopped in the wrong box. This is the battle of the teams here. 24 guys working the cars. And crucially, Sebastian Vettel gets away first. That was a terrible mistake there by Jenson Button.
How did he do that? It's all dressed in blue. Button stopped at the wrong pit lane. That's something I did in my very first test for Tyrrell when I got it all wrong, but traffic not too bad then. That's worked out brilliantly for Vettel. Now, they must pit Hamilton this lap, but if they can get a tremendous outlap, but they've got Heidfeld in the way, who's on old tyres. Rosberg, meanwhile, is fastest man of the Grand Prix on a 43.0. The new tyres give you a serious undercut. Webber's just beaten that down in 17th place. He's done a 142.6. So this is all about, can they clear Nick Heidfeld? The great thing about this higher tyre wear is you don't have the luxury of putting your cars out just when it suits you. And look, this is Jensen, still thinks he's driving for the team that finished first in the championship last year. And he stopped, he completely stopped the car. It's like, okay, fill her up, Governor, and clean the screen, please. Oh, I'm at the wrong petrol station.
Darren, the chief mechanic, the lollipop man at Red Bull, was giving him the hands. He was saying, come on, keep going, son. Your garage is over there. The McLaren mechanics didn't know what to make of it. So Jenson Button lost all those seconds there, at least 3 seconds, as he went back onto the power and then had to slow down again.
Okay, so Hamilton's lost out to a Ferrari as well, who pits. So presumably at some point in that lap, Lewis has made a mistake. So Massa then pits before Hamilton. And
well, looking at the sectors, Martin, it's not in the first and second sector, so it must have been somewhere in that last sector, which we've not seen as yet.
Brand new soft tyres for Hamilton, but worst case scenario, he can't use them, can he, if he's tucked up behind the Ferrari? What happened to Lewis Hamilton at the end of that in lap? And look, this is important. Vettel then has got ahead of Heidfeld. Button follows him, and they are both ahead of now a very competitive Felipe Massa. So Hamilton drops back to 4th place. Heidfeld then is out of position, as we know, because he's yet to stop. He's trying to do a 2-stopper this afternoon and get a bit further into the Grand Prix. Massa will be able to open his rear wing about halfway down this straight, and so presumably will look, he has to get back in. That Renault's so fast by itself that he had to get back in the slipstream. Now surely he can open the wing. He does so, but he's quite late on it, and Hamilton scything up the inside. You have to be so careful in that situation. You're okay around a wise guy like Heidfeld, but often the driver doesn't realise 2 people are passing him instead of just the one. And Alonso pits from the lead then. Where's he going to feed back in? Is he going to be in there with Massa and Hamilton? And we're watching them now. No, he's miles behind. Schumacher's got him, look. Michael Schumacher, who has pitted, that's worked beautifully for him. Rosberg is actually ahead of the lot of them. Rosberg is right out front. And Schumacher is going to make it up the inside of Heidfeld. This is for position down into turn 1. Super aggressive driving from Michael Schumacher.
And if Alonso's clever, he'll just slot his car in, and he is indeed. What am I thinking? He's a double world champion.
Still the top 5, only covered by 8 seconds. So the Kurz goes on, and then down here a little bit further. I mean, Michael's got the fastest car in the race down the straight line. You can feel the car pick up speed as the wing opens. Schumacher knows it's going to happen, so it goes to the inside. I'm a little bit surprised Alonso doesn't just send one deep up the inside, aren't you?
Well, I wouldn't go around the outside, Fernando. I tried that a few times in Magny Cours a few years ago, and Michael is very good at defending that position. Button
pits, presumably he'll know which one it is this time, and he does. It's another set of soft tyres going on. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Rosberg responds to everything, I'd imagine. There's so much going on.
And McLaren are in the pit lane as well, Martin, so we're going to see the Rosberg, leader of this race, pitting, and we're also going to see presumably Hamilton coming in this lap.
A little bit slow at the back end, didn't it? Just seemed a touch slow as, well, he's pitted, but still he'll be looking at the back of Schumacher. Can he get out in front of the traffic? And he can indeed. This is down in, and he's done it this time. No, he hasn't. Schumacher comes back up the inside. Alonso cuts back underneath. Surely he can get on the throttle so much early. He'll just squeeze Michael out, and unfortunately underneath the grandstands. And Alonso gets the job done, stays out on track, doesn't pit. You don't know where to look next now. There's so much going on. Let's see how this goes.
Perfectly on his mark, so this should be a good one.
So Alonso's only pitted once. Rosberg's got much better tyres on now, and he's a little bit too far back. I wonder if that might have been worth a banzai. There's a long way to go yet to be getting too much of a Chinese burn by rubbing tyres, and he's coming up the inside. He's got him into, that's how much more traction he had on those fresh tyres. So great move there from Nico Rosberg. He takes the place from Alonso, and he's made his extra pit stop. So even if Alonso can squeeze through on 2-stop, Rosberg effectively has made up that deficit if he's 3-stopping. So Button then behind Alonso, presumably halfway down the straight. Button's rear wing will open, there it goes, and he should get some mighty speed now. And Alonso will just go to the inside. See, I think Hamilton would just send one up the inside there. I think and he's just going to out-drag him through the exit. He didn't need to risk it up the inside. Button had it all worked out long before I did, and he was like, okay, whichever way you defend, I'm going to go the other side, because I've got so much more grip. I've got a better car in this phase of the Grand Prix. Vettel lost half a second to Massa in the first sector, another 0.2 in the middle sector. Massa's closing Vettel down, and they've only done one stop each. Vettel pits, Massa doesn't, I believe. He's gone round, so they're putting hard tyres on Vettel. So Red Bull are now under pressure from Mercedes-Benz, McLaren and Ferrari. Felipe Massa has absolutely come alive in this Grand Prix. Doesn't seem to need tyres at the moment, but his times are slow. He's doing a 1:43.3. Hamilton's just done another 1 minute 40.7, and he's right on the tail of Button now. So the two McLarens are line astern. Hamilton is flying. Out comes Sebastian Vettel, well behind the McLaren. Schumacher and Webber in close company with Vitaly Petrov, and it's all the cars seem to be fighting all the other cars. It's going off all the way down the field. Tremendous. Michael Schumacher with a beautiful move on Petrov, and Mark Webber, he's going to be out on the marbles out there, isn't he? Has he got enough grip? No.
Well, brave stuff, but it hasn't worked out. But Mark knew he had to try and clear Petrov. Michael's racing there was fantastic, pulling that move around the outside into 6.
Clean as you like, wasn't it? Hot knife through butter. Rosberg was only half second adrift of him at that point when they came in, Button and Hamilton. So a new set of hard tyres, so that suggests to me he expects to go to the end of the Grand Prix, another 22 laps, including 23 actually, including his out lap.
This is costing Mark a great deal of time, because the Renault is the Lotus Renault in front of the Red Bull Renault is significantly faster in a straight line. Mark's quicker in the corners, and this is his chance. He has to make this stick, and in the end
Petrov yielded, didn't he?
Yeah, he made it pretty easy for him, and then locks up for good measure. Yeah. He's got a bit of a balance problem there, I would say.
Yeah. Button still fractionally ahead of Hamilton. And they are ahead then of Vettel by about 13 seconds. But we know they've got to stop again. Does Vettel have to stop again, and how fast is he on the tyres? He did a 42.2 on his first flying lap. He's currently on a slightly better middle sector, and that's a second a lap slower than the McLarens and Rosberg. So at that pace, it's not enough, is it? The 3-stopper will work as Hamilton shapes up for a look at Button. Oh, I talked about the ferocious battle for dominance and supremacy within the McLaren team, and here we are moving into lap 35, lap 36 now, and that's exactly what we've got. And he's got a tremendous slipstream down the pit straight, and Hamilton fancies a look up the inside into turn 1, and Button had to give him some space. Hamilton then, a beautiful move on Jenson Button. So Button, I think, will be frustrated with that. Hamilton got a better drive out of the last corner. A nice slipstream down the pit straight, no rear wing working there. It's not on the pit straight as it has been in the first 2 Grand Prix, and I'm a little bit surprised Jenson didn't just turn in, if I'm honest. And there we go then, look at there's a beautiful slipstream, and Jenson sort of leaves him the path, doesn't he? I don't think Jenson quite recognised that he was coming at him, and Jenson had a little moment, a little wobble on the way into turn 1. So it's almost, see, Jenson should have been seriously right there. He just didn't expect his teammate to be, look, he had to turn out of the corner. Mark Webber then. That's Mark Webber on Michael Schumacher. Where is Michael Schumacher? Webber didn't quite get the undercut right because he went deep himself. So Schumacher, good defence. Button then leaves the pits on what looks like a brand new set of hard tyres that should get him to the end of the Grand Prix. It's a question of how far and how fast Sebastian Vettel will be, and he exits the pit ahead of Michael Schumacher and Mark Webber. Webber's still on the softer tyres now. He's gone through the hard tyre phase at the beginning of the Grand Prix. Webber runs a little bit wide in turn 2 there. Schumacher's still got Webber in very close company, and it is for Hamilton then, so he pits immediately after Jenson Button, and Webber, he's the man going up the inside. That for me is the only way to pass Michael Schumacher, as long as you can stop when you get there. So there's Hamilton then on a new set of hard tyres. He was so proud of the tyres he'd saved for the Grand Prix when he spoke after qualifying yesterday.
And that gets him out in front of his teammate. Sorry, Martin, I just saw it.
Well spotted, David.
Yeah,
and ahead of Webber and Schumacher. Surely Webber, will Webber get to the end of the Grand Prix? And Schumacher fancies a bit of a half-hearted move up the inside there to try it as almost a distraction rather than anything else, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a remember me.
As Nico Rosberg pits from the lead. So on it goes. Looked okay, didn't it? Not super fast. And it's not going to do it. There goes Vettel and Massa and Hamilton. And no, it's just in front of Lewis Hamilton. Rosberg then, with a fresher set of tyres. He's got less distance to travel to the end of the Grand Prix. And they're nice and warm from the blankets. So all he's got to do is just keep that Mercedes in the right part of the racetrack. Hamilton's best shot is in the braking zone for turn 6, isn't it? While Rosberg finds out what he's now got underneath him. And that's exactly what Lewis thinks as well. But Rosberg saw it coming and closes the apex. As we see, I think it's a Williams, isn't it, getting right into the mix there.
And that's an opportunity for Hamilton.
It's Maldonado who's out of position, getting right in the mix. And every 4 laps of fuel costs you about 0.4 of a second per lap, so every lap's a tenth of a second. So they fuel the cars light, and Mercedes are having to go into fuel management. And Hamilton will flick up the inside, surely, and Rosberg gives him the way. And, well, he just opened the door, didn't he? Hamilton's through. Button then is still looking on. Maldonado is out of position. He releases Jenson Button, as he should do. So Button then, now the next man to line up Nico Rosberg, and I think the Mercedes pit wall will not have enjoyed that moment of Hamilton coming through. So the big story now for me is, can Vettel and Massa get to the end of the race in a competitive state with the tyres that they've got on?
This 3-stop strategy is coming into its own. Difficult to imagine that Felipe Massa is going to be able to defend much beyond this corner by the looks of it. In fact, well, it didn't pay off there in turn 16, but there is one thing that's quite clear: Lewis Hamilton is coming past.
It's second place then for Lewis Hamilton as he gets past Felipe Massa. Hamilton's tyres are 6 laps younger than those on Vettel's Red Bull. So Rosberg gone too deep. That let Massa through, and Button. And so, look, Rosberg passes Massa because he was behind him, and then it's just gone way, way too deep into the turn 14 hairpin, and the pair of them scoot past. So Sutil then takes that wide line in, and Perez just slithers clean up the inside.
Sebastian, I cannot hear you, but you've got to stay out,
So Rocky then, Guillaume Roquelin, suspecting that his driver was asking for tyres, and Massa under pressure from Rosberg. That's for 4th place, so Button has cleared them now. Button up into 3rd place. Felipe Massa really struggling. He's 2-stop 2, so it gives you an idea of the lack of grip that Vettel has as well. 2 stops. It's the wrong way to go for this Grand Prix. Look at Hamilton, this would be for the lead. And Vettel has to go defensive. Hamilton had the wing open, which he was allowed to do. Hamilton will get tremendous drive off the hairpin. Vettel's up the inside, though. He's got the inside line for the final corner. And he just leaves Hamilton enough space, but no more. And Hamilton then slow on the throttle. out of the corner necessarily, but he's in this slipstream. This is where he passed his teammate down into turn 1. Vettel looking more in his mirrors than he is ahead. It's only a matter of time, surely, before Lewis Hamilton passes Sebastian Vettel, but Vettel is clearly not going to make it easy. And this then is where Rosberg made it past Felipe Massa. So Massa's down into 5th place, Rosberg up to 4th. Hamilton's still struggling a bit off that turn 13, isn't he? But now he gets into his stride. He's in the slipstream. The rear wing is open. Traffic ahead. It's quite a long way down the road. And Vettel, I thought Hamilton might go up the inside of him there. But now Vettel's got to just go so slow on the apex. That's what he's got to do. He's just got to stop Lewis getting on the throttle. He's exactly what he did.
He's not using KERS, Martin.
He hasn't got any of it left, has he? You're right, he's got it almost a full charge left. That was brilliant there from Vettel. He just parked on the apex. I'm not going to let you go on the throttle faster than me. I'll slow us both down. But they didn't. Yes, they're only now 6 seconds clear of Button. If these pairs squabble too much longer, Button will be with them well. Massa now just 2.3 seconds. Webber's past Massa. Webber's up to 5th. Felipe Massa down to 6th. Webber only 2 seconds behind Rosberg, the 4th place man, who's only 2.5 behind Button. Webber is flying at them. This then is for the lead. And it's starting to get pretty narrow now, David, with all the discarded rubber. And he's looking up the inside. He's through. Hamilton takes the lead. Absolutely brilliant on lap 52. He's got so much more grip, poise and confidence through there. And in the end, it was comfortable. It's now a question of whether Vettel can stay ahead of Button and Rosberg and even Mark Webber, his teammate, who started 18th. Rosberg and Webber. Well, you know what? They're both catching. They're both catching Jenson Button. You can see it there for yourselves. If Webber can clear Rosberg quickly and now, and look at that, he's up the inside. Can he slow it down? Yes, he can just about get it into the corner, and now he's got a decent run out. Rosberg can curse him down there, but Webber's got the inside line. It's very dirty there. He's made it work. That has released Mark Webber. Can he turn that in the dying moments of this Grand Prix into a sensational podium position? Look at that. He's going to get the wing. He doesn't have the curse, so he'll lose out in the first part of the straight. He's got to somehow stay there. He's got so much more grip. Now the McLaren will just punch away from him with the curves. They'll just squeeze away from him a little bit. There it goes. And then the wing will kick in. I think that's just happened now. And he's now got exactly what he needs. He's got all the tools available to take a sensational 3rd place away from Jenson Button. And Webber has got enough grip to go straight around the outside there, and they're so close together. Button's not giving up easily. He just wants Webber to have such a tight entry to the last corner, and it doesn't matter. Webber's not falling for that one. Button then has to yield. He started on the 2nd row of the grid. He had problems going to the grid. He was so happy he saved extra tyres for the race. It's paid dividends. Lewis Hamilton brilliantly wins the Chinese Grand Prix. Vettel somehow salvages 2nd. Mark Webber, after a stunning performance, is 3rd and on the podium. His arm goes in the air, and rightly so. Button, a dejected 4th, I suspect, as we then see Nico Rosberg 5th. Felipe Massa, solid drive up into 6th place. Alonso is a long way behind, another 15 seconds. And Alonso's got Michael Schumacher for company. They've been at it all afternoon, but there's some way behind the leads, a half a minute adrift. Schumacher 8th and some points. Both Mercedes in the points, which is important for them. And it's champagne time. Hamilton brilliantly wins from the championship leader, reigning world champion Sebastian Vettel. And Mark Webber somehow, amazingly, with incredible pace, joins them on the podium to share the champagne here in Shanghai.
The pit stops were fantastic, which was good for us. You know, I think the guys are always pushing to improve. And the car felt great, and I think it was just a real, just trying to nurse my tyres whilst trying to pick up pace. And it was one of the best races I've experienced, where at least this year, where guys are out in front of me and had to do quite a lot of overtaking. But real thumbs up to the guys back at the factory and in the garage. They really put their hearts into developing the car and making the car the best it can be every weekend, and it feels amazing to be able to bring it home and bring home a victory for them.